Hello, fellow students, and today I'm going to be presenting a speech, but before I do that, I want to start us off with a question. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room has had to wear a school uniform at one point or not when they've attended school. Yes, yeah, mostly everybody. So, what I want to address you guys with is how school uniforms can be helpful, but how, if they're done poorly, they can actually lead to consequences that don't always help out the student. So, the first thing I saw when I was researching uniforms is that most students, when they do wear uniforms to school, they do get dressed quicker in the morning because they don't have to think about what they're wearing. They already know from the get-go when they wake up what they're gonna wear. So it's shown that most students have around 30 minutes or so whenever they wake up in the morning to get dressed and go to school. So those 30 minutes can be used in the morning for them to maybe finish up a little homework they didn't finish up, study, go to tutoring for a little bit, just helpful things here and there. And then the next thing I noticed was that uniforms can stop or decrease bullying to a certain extent, because whenever you have uniforms, you can't really tell if the person's poor or rich by their clothes, because everyone's wearing the same thing. And then also what that does is that if you want to interact with people, you can't just interact with people based on what they wear or what they look like, because you have to make actual connections with people, because everyone's wearing the same thing, everyone has the same outfit, so you can't just hang out with the rich kids or hang out with the poor kids in a sense. And also the next thing I noticed is that on average, school uniforms usually cost less than like branded clothes. I saw that branded clothes, it can go from anywhere to $10 to all the way up to $40, while just on $100 alone, you can buy a week's worth of school uniforms for the entire school year, basically. So for most families, it would help out, because it's seen that most families that do go to usual public schools that have uniforms are more on the poor economic side of the spectrum. And then now more to the negatives of uniforms. It's actually been shown that in the recent upcoming years that uniforms are steadily and slowly becoming more expensive compared to actual normal clothes, because some schools require you to wear a polo shirt per se. So then that polo shirt can cost to $10, when usually most families who are on the poor economic side goes to stores that are like more suitable to them, like Walmart, stuff like that. So the shirts they get are around $3 each. But then when you bump that up to 10, that becomes a lot more expensive to them, because then they have to afford a whole week worth of uniforms for just $50 on 5 shirts. So not most families can afford that. And then the next thing I saw is that even if you have uniforms in schools, bullying can still occur, because everyone knows that children at that age at least aren't as naive as we might think they are. You can still tell who is the poor and who is the rich kid by certain types of uniforms. For example, it's like let's say you have to wear a button-up shirt. You can tell if they're branded or not, because they have the logos on them half of the time. So then even if the school uniforms tries to avoid bullying, there still are certain scenarios where it can still happen. Then the next thing I saw was that a good amount of the school uniforms that are being presented now, they're usually uncomfortable to wear, because there are some schools to where you are required to wear a tie, a coat, certain shoes, certain just anything in general, like certain pants. And those can be uncomfortable for students to wear in any time, because imagine wearing a thick coat in the summer for your school uniform, and then maybe your tie's a little too tight on your neck, so if you just feel uncomfortable in general, so that can hurt the learning ability of students, because no one's gonna really try and be able to focus fully if you're in pain the whole day in school. And then after that, I would say the next thing is that school uniforms, even though they do help create connections, it also limits the kids in the school to express themselves, because that's how most people usually express themselves, through their clothes. So those are the advantages and disadvantages, at least I saw, in uniforms, and I hope I taught you guys something.